A group of anti-Muslim protesters went to a public area in the Czech Republic in order to demonstrate their hatred for Muslims and how they believe that they shouldn't be allowed into the country. Now, what they did during this protest is a little questionable because they posed as members of ISIS. So, sporting detachable beards, the men drove a humvee onto Old Town Square in Prague, wielding fake submachine-style BB guns and waving an Islamic State flag. Now, before I continue, let me just be clear about one thing. They went to City Hall in order to get permission to do this protest, to act as if they're members of ISIS, invading, this public square and going after people. Apparently, they didn't give City Hall all the information, which is why City Hall warranted the protest. Later on, they're like, if we knew this was going to happen, we would have totally banned it, because people who were there, tourists included, had no idea what was going on. And of course, it led to panic.
Look, I was going to say, if you do this in America, you're taking your life into your hands.
Yeah.
Right? But it's not just America. It turns out, in this case, there was, I think it's a cafe owner down the street, heard about it, grabbed his gun, and started running towards the square. And luckily, he figured out by the time he got there that it was fake. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's like, they're lucky they didn't do it right in front of my cafe.
It's so true. I mean, it's kind of miraculous that no one got killed, no one got hurt. I mean, people got hurt with bruises and minor injuries. But okay, so take a look at that. They attack a woman who's holding a sign that says "Refugees Welcome." I'm kind of unclear if she was part of the protest.
I think so.
Yeah, they're staging that. Okay,
yeah.
So
because she's in camouflage and she's got that red beret. I think that they were staging that like, for you liberals who want to welcome the refugees, this is what they're going to do to you anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I'm very scared. So the person who staged this is very open about his hatred for Muslims. His name is Martin Konvicka, and he's an anti-immigration activist. And his stunt, which had been pre-approved by City Hall, was intended to sound the alarm about what he views as the threat posed by Islam on the Czech way of life. Aaron Gunsberger is the restaurant owner that you were talking about, and he owns a restaurant in the Jewish Quarter. He grabbed his gun and ran into the square, fearful that an attack was taking place. So, by the way, I want to go to the graphical 14 to give you a quote from Martin Konvicka. Here's what he says. Until a few Muslims started shouting aggressively and pushing toward the performers, everything was going very peacefully. No, you are going into a public area, posing as terrorists, and shooting fake guns. The sound sounded like real guns going off, right? That leads to panic, right? That's not peace. This is how oblivious these people are, right? They point to Muslims and they're like, "Oh, you guys are terrible. You're disturbing the peace. You're violent. You're dangerous." While they're doing something dangerous, like they're so oblivious and they lack any and all self-awareness.
You're disturbing the peace while we were peacefully pretending to be ISIS, shooting at people. Okay.
It's amazing.
And by the way, one of the reasons that people were really worried was because that the guy from the Jewish Quarter who runs a kosher deli was running at him with a gun, and they're like, "You see, it's the Muslims that are at fault." And by the way, I don't blame the deli owner at all. I mean,
No.
if I saw ISIS was around the corner, I'm right there with you, brother.
Yeah.
So look, guys. One of the issues here is that people say, "Oh, no, it's not all Muslims, not all Muslims." And these guys do a protest where they say, "Don't let any Muslims in the country." And what do they dress as? ISIS.
Yep.
So in their mind, not just in their mind, they did a very public display of this. Muslims equal ISIS. So, but in reality, the refugees, the overwhelming majority of them, are running from ISIS. They are ISIS's opponents. But to them, they don't see nuance. They just see Muslims. Muslim is a Muslim.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if you're running from the bad guys. It doesn't matter if you're the bad guy. It doesn't matter what your interpretation is. It doesn't matter anything. It doesn't matter if you're violent or peaceful. And then we get criticized when we say they hate Muslims. But it is in their action. They don't say keep ISIS out. Everyone would agree with that. Americans would agree with that. People in the Czech Republic would agree with that. And should you have safeguards to keep them out? Of course you should. In America, we have an 18-month process for refugees, right? But they don't say keep ISIS out. They say keep the Muslims out. So oh my God, why are you guys so upset if somebody says they like Islam less than Christianity? What's the big deal, right? It's like my opinion, man. If it's your opinion, man, go forward, right? But by the way, I'm also allowed to criticize your opinion. I also live in a free country. And second of all, it's a different matter when you start profiling and blocking people from coming in the country and discriminating based on your opinion that one religion is worse than the other religions.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I will use an historical example that when they did that in a place near the Czech Republic back in the day, in the 1930s, that did not end well. When they said one religion is worse than the other religions and we should profile them and we should discriminate against them, that ended very poorly. Now you say, no, we won't do that. They're the violent ones. It's not our problem, it's their problem. Our discrimination will be wonderful. It'll be rational and smart and end with flowers at everybody's feet.
Help keep TYT independent by becoming a member. tytnetwork.com/join.